The year is 2025 and you are looking to buy a property in Singapore. You're considering whether you should buy a resale or a new launch. Well, if you're in the new launch market, or even if you're considering it, this is probably the video for you, because we're going to be talking about what are probably the most attractive new launches to be considering if you're in the market in 2025. Hi everyone, welcome to Singapore Property Pilots, where we help guide you through your Singapore property journey through superior knowledge and superior service. I'm Utkarsh.
I'm Nidhi.
And I'm Farrand.
And today we're going to be talking about new launches in CCR, the core central region of Singapore. If you want to know what is CCR, why is it a good time to buy in CCR, we have 2 videos on this, which you can see on the channel. But this one will delve particularly into new launches. And the reason we are prioritizing this video is because we feel that new launches are a particularly attractive thing, particularly for CCR, particularly for the Singapore property market right now, as we sit in 2025. So let's give you a little bit of background first. The thing is, there have been a lot of new launches in Singapore in the last few years, but there haven't been that many in CCR. And why has that been?
Traditionally, what has always happened is whenever, there is a new launch, it has to be either a government has to, come up with a land which is a clean site, or there has to be an en bloc that has to happen of a property, which means, the developer will take over the property and then they will tear down the building and then a new launch will come up. So what happened in CCR or Central Region in particular is that there weren't as many en blocs, and we have talked about it a little bit in our previous video, because of very high ABSD, foreigners were not coming into the market, which is why the sellers were not selling.
Correct.
Because, here you have such old, big, spacious properties.
Yeah, right.
For sellers to sell them, they have to see the next potential advantage for them as well, right? So because there weren't any en blocs happening, they weren't really motivated to sell, so we didn't really see a lot of developers coming in. But because of this repressed pricing that we've been talking about, developers have also been seeing it as an opportunity. And we do have a lot of demand from the buyer side as well. So that is why we're now seeing a lot of new launches happening in Singapore. So this
and the new land parcels have been released by the government,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
In CCR. That has kind of enabled this because, there were no en blocs happening, as you were mentioning.
Yeah,
the
and
government
also-
has recently released a few
True.
land parcels.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
we can share a link with you where you can see how many launches are planned for this year itself. In the central region itself, we're looking at close to about 10 launches, including some of the prime areas of RCR, which also sort of falls very comparative to the central region. Yeah.
Yes.
So, although they are in RCR, but because of the relative closeness to the central region itself, they kind of fall into the same pricing, like when we talk about Margaret area and all those areas.
Yeah. So the whole thing over here is in 2025, for the first time in a few years, you have a number of launches happening in CCR and CCR adjacent. And this links very well to what the government wants to do. Because if you look at what the government wants to do with the central core region, we talked about how this is the traditional residential area, there's an office CBD district, there's many different things. There are 3 things that if you can go and read the whole URA Masterplan, as I did, or I can tell you 3 or 4 things that you need to remember from it if you want the shortcut. So 2 or 3 things to remember. One is where the CBD exists today. They're going to make it more of a mix of not only offices, but offices and living. So they want to, and I'm going to pop up a picture over here where it's going to be much more residential and offices interconnected. This kind of goes very well with the hybrid lifestyles that a lot of us lead today, where it's kind of work from home here, something there. Right. So they kind of, Singapore government in typical fashion is adapting to the new reality, the new normal. So the whole area is going to be a lot more mix of office and residential so that you can seamlessly blend in and out of your life. The other thing to note is that Singapore has always been about greenery, right? The founder Lee Kuan Yew famously said, right? It's a city inside a garden, not a garden inside a city. So the whole intent of that is coming to life on Orchard Road. They want to bring back the orchard in Orchard Road because it used to be an orchard. That's why it's called Orchard Road.
Right.
And essentially all the places that you will want to walk to, all the green places will be linked by now green pathways as well.
Yeah.
So we don't know how it's exactly going to pan out, but that's the intent. And the third one is going back to walking and livability. The intent is in certain parts to become slightly more car light so that you can seamlessly kind of, for example, Robinson Road, they're looking at whether they're going to make it like a walking way that you can actually walk from different parts, essentially. The last bit that I do have to mention is the arts bit, right? Singapore, CCR has always been where the most vibrant arts hub. If you think of areas closer to City Hall, Bugis, Bencoolen, Prinsep, that entire area, the universities over there, relatively young crowd. So they're going to kind of provide support systems so that the arts can be expressed further. There's going to be Singapore River Festival, multiple things. So essentially the idea is this is already the most livable place in Singapore. Let's make it even more livable. And integrate it better with our work lives. So so the future is looking bright. But the thing is, how do you take advantage of the future looking bright? And that's where the idea of new launches come in, because the whole concept of a new launch is that you buy today for something that's going to be launching in a few years, but you buy it at today's pricing. And that's where today's pricing is very attractive, because like we talked about in the previous video, where CCR is traditionally 50, 60 some percent, maybe even twice as expensive as RCR, OCR. Now what's happening is it's at practically the same pricing.
Yeah, around the same price.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what you are able to do is you're able to buy something that was traditionally 60%, 70% more expensive. You're able to buy it at the same price. You know that the future is looking bright. You know that this area has always been the most desirable area in Singapore.
Yeah.
So this is the time to buy. In fact, for me, a lot of people that we've been talking to is that there are, of course, plenty of cases for many different neighborhoods in Singapore.
Yes, for sure.
But this particular moment is CCR's moment, is how we see it, given where the pricing is. If the pricing was much more expensive than RCR and OCR, we wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
But just because of that, I think.
No, that's true. And actually, like when we share more, when you look at some of the pricings that the developers are coming up with, they actually have kept that thing in mind, you know. They know the competitiveness of it, and they do want to, not just because, I mean, they also understand that it's not just foreign investors, because at this point in time, because of the ABSD, there won't be too many foreign investors. So the whole idea of launching a particular project, like for example, you know, One Marina, which we'll share later, they're actually looking at from the perspective of getting locals to come into the developing a community and everything around the project itself. So it's just not the investment angle of it, but also the livability factor, even for locals that they're looking into.
The government is giving incentives for developers to reconfigure office spaces in the central business district, because previously, once the workday is over, the whole central business district dies.
Yes,
true.
Dies down. So they are making plans. They are slowly but surely, you know, bringing in amenities, schools, and life into the city. That is also one of the reason they want to prevent everybody trying to go to the CBD to work during the day, right? They want to prevent, congestions.
Correct.
So they are trying to smooth that part out where you live, work, and play almost at the same place.
True.
Exactly. And it's all interconnected. You can just walk through all the green spaces. So what we will do now is we will delve very briefly into the new launches that are coming up. We will be making a video on each new launch as well, where we'll get into particular detail. But what we want to do right now is give you a broad overview so that you know what each of them are. So the next time you're at a party and someone mentions something, you have something to say. That much we can guarantee you from this video.
Favorite topic.
Because real estate is the favorite topic in Singapore for most people. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the first one, One Sophia. So One Sophia is, look, we talked about arts, we talked about vibrant areas. So One Sophia is poised to be probably one of the best located and one of the most rentable projects in the most vibrant part of Singapore. So basically Orchard Road turns into Dhobi Ghat, turns into Bencoolen, Prinsep, turns into City Hall, Bugis. That's where One Sophia is. That's where the universities are. That's where some of the offices are. That's where you can walk to Bugis if you feel like food. You can walk to Orchard Road if you feel like shopping. You can walk up to Fort Canning if you want to exercise. We covered all three important things in life, I guess. But it's there. And that is where, that's where you'll see, if you walk down, it's like, you see some of the arts on the wall. It's where all the students stay. That's where you go down for a drink. It is that kind of place. Talking about location, it is walking distance from 7 MRT lines. It could be 6, it could be 8, but it's a large number of MRT lines. And any MRT line in Singapore is accessible from that. So that's why. The Sophia, Prinsep, Bencoolen area is very youthful, it's very trendy. There are some cultural and lifestyle landmarks, Raffles Hotel. And if all of this is not enough, this place is actually an integrated development, which means that you have an office, you have a retail space where you can shop, a mall, and you have residences all under the same building. So integrated developments, we'll talk a little bit about it, these mixed developments are one of the very, very popular types in Singapore, because what you're having increasingly, you have smaller household sizes.
Yeah.
You have people who want convenience when they're living in a smaller household. They want to be able to walk. Sometimes they don't want to even get out of the air conditioning. You just want to go from your house straight to
That's
the
true.
wall, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So we see this place as being a very attractive thing for young professionals, maybe even for students who have the money to live to rent a flat.
Yeah.
And we see a high rental yield, and we see a good capital gain potential due to all the things that we've talked about from the central core region perspective. What about One Marina Gardens?
But before I go to One Marina Gardens, I have to tell you this. As agents, sometimes it's good to do walk the talk. So just to let you know, I have personally invested in One Sophia. So, we do see the benefits of the new launches and took the first mover advantage myself. So that's why, we're sharing from experiences and not just sharing whatever is, written or shared, in news articles by developers or generally speaking, whatever you read. Okay, so back to One Marina Gardens. I think another very, very talked about project, essentially because government is really spearheading this project. That entire area from Marina South to Marina East, they have actually released a lot of different sites for both residential purposes, for commercial purposes. And of course, it's a great location because it overlooks the sea.
Yeah. Gardens by the bay.
And gardens next to Gardens by the Bay.
That's true. So you have that connectivity to the CBD area, plus you have the recreational side of it. So this particular development, which is One Marina Gardens, it's one of the first due with the next 5 residential plots that are going to be coming up in that stretch. This itself, again, is an integrated development. There's going to be a commercial on the first story. So that's in line with what, the developers are thinking, as we were talking about. It's 10 minutes walking distance to Marina Bay Sands, so to speak. The MRT is just next door. You come down and the MRT is accessible.
Right.
So overall, it's kind of setting up that community. They're also looking at establishing a lot of like small coffee shops, clinics in the area within the vicinity.
Yeah. Amenities
which
that
is going to
residents
be
would require.
That's true. And then, along the way, of course, there'll be commercial malls and all that would be set up. And then you can actually cross over the bridge and go to the other side, which makes it then, the fun part of it. So that's how they're bringing actually the entire community to One Marina Gardens. And of course, it's launching at a very attractive PSF, so to speak. Which is why, if you've read one of the latest news articles, I think one of the weekends there were about 5,000 people that were at the show flat. So another very, very interesting launch to look out for its location, for its accessibility, for the pricing, and of course it's actually in the core central region, the district one.
Yeah. So if you compare these two, One Sophia and One Marina Gardens. So One Sophia is more for, I would say, it's very particular to be in the middle of the action, right? That's where it's more of a younger, whether it's a rental pool or whether it is even people who want to stay there. It's young and young at heart, because I may not be that young, but I definitely love the idea of living there. But if you compare that, One Marina Gardens is much more, it could be young people who work in CBD and want to walk over, or it could be families who want to have that beautiful nature lifestyle living next to Gardens by the Bay. Right? This is again very highly rentable, because again, going back to the postcard of Singapore, what do you see? You see those domes from, you see Marina Bay Sands, you see those domes from Gardens by the Bay. That is where it is. Right? That's called prime, right? It's a global icon where it's located. So that's another thing to note, which makes this launch very different from others, because you don't necessarily get to live right next to an iconic global image like that, right?
True.
I don't know how much it costs next to Statue of Liberty. I have no idea.
Definitely a lot more expensive, I can tell you that.
All right. What else? What are the other new launches that we have going on?
Well, shall we talk about UpperHouse?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Orchard Boulevard?
So this is at Orchard, So this UpperHouse is a government land sales, all right? It's located in District 10. Don't worry so much about this postal district. Let me talk a little bit about this, right? In case we have foreign friends, watching.
Yeah.
These postal districts are the old postal districts when they were still 2 digits. Now we are looking at 3 digits, up to 6 digits. So, but traditionally we have used that as a shorthand.
Yeah.
To refer to certain locations, right?
True.
Yeah, so where you are living, I'm living in Orchard or District 9 or District 10, right? So, So coming back to the postal districts, don't worry, because I think certain locations, they may be side by side to each other, but the number jump by one, or sometimes
Yeah.
3 jump to
Jump
7.
to 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. Just know that all these places that we are referring to, they are very core, very central part of Singapore, right? And certainly very iconic, right? You talk to any foreigners, they will know where these places are.
True.
Right. So this upper house that we are talking about is near Tangling, actually, right? So to zoom down a little bit more, and it's across the road from earlier episode we mentioned this place called Nasim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a very, very prime, very, very exclusive area, right? You also have a lot of embassies.
Yeah.
Just a stone's throw away from this
True.
new launch.
Yeah.
Right? The Chinese embassy, the American embassy,
Yeah.
Australian embassy.
and the
Embassy,
British embassy. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So that being said, the address is certainly prestigious, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Orchard Boulevard.
Yeah. So, and yeah, talking about Orchard Boulevard, the aptly named new MRT, or the Mass Rapid Transit System, it's right at the doorstep, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, just outside the main gate of this development. So that is the new line, Thomson East Coast Line. So this line is brown color, so it brings you directly to Orchard and to the Changi Airport.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, on the east side. And on the north side, it goes all the way to Malaysia.
If you want to go that far.
Right. So you don't even have to drive, right, to Malaysia. This development will be 35 stories high, right? But only have 303 exclusive units, right? It will span from
That's actually quite an interesting ratio.
Yeah.
That shows
True.
each unit will be very nicely nice.
Exactly.
There will be no bad units here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and you have a choice of 1, 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, right? And most importantly, is developed by a very reputable developer, joint venture between UOL and Singland.
Yeah.
They are award-winning, right, developers, and award-winning developers appoint award-winning architects. So
True.
ADDP will be the architect, tasked to design this project. We can't wait to see what they come up with, right? Yeah. Okay, so that said, this development will be completing estimated in 2029.
Yeah.
So it's pretty soon. Right?
Yeah, quite close to One Marina Gardens as well. I think that's because all the developers looking at, launching at the same time.
Around the same time, yeah.
And I think one thing to note here is one of the reasons why developers do that is because, for example, you plan to go for one launch and then you get priced out.
Yeah, it's competition.
Then, it's competition, right?
Since we are in this location, there is also River Green, which is going to launch
Yes.
pretty soon.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. More details on River Green we will share later, because we thought we will keep this video slightly shorter.
Otherwise
Why don't we talk about the next set of new launches that we want to talk about a little bit in the next video, so that you can take a break and then we come back and talk about River Green. We have Robertson Opus, we have Margaret Drive, we have Holland, and a couple of other new launches that are planned. We'll give you a teaser about them shortly in the next video, and then let's talk about the details of all those in the videos to come.
So in order not to miss all those, remember to subscribe.
Yes,
Like.
and like and share.
And share.